Let's get the champagne of political commentators now, the Dom Perignon of Conservative voices, Annunziata Rees-Mogg, who is not only a former Brexit Party MEP, but the head of communications at Popular Conservatism. Good morning, Annunziata.
Good morning, Mark. What an introduction.
Well, every word is true. Can we talk about Sir Keir Starmer? So this is a man who, on his watch as Prime Minister, is going to allow veterans of Northern Ireland to be prosecuted for doing their job and keeping us safer and seeking to defeat the IRA. Meanwhile, as a human rights lawyer, he campaigned for the prosecution of war veterans in Iraq. Is he fit to be the leader of our armed forces?
It's absolutely unbelievable. I mean, he basically wrote the handbook of how to prosecute our soldiers who are doing the job of protecting this country. They follow orders set by the government. They do it on behalf of the King and our nation. But it is quite surreal that he is this implicated. The level to which he has conspired against our armed forces, I think, is unforgivable.
Well, it is. It's unconscionable. And maybe if you're a human rights lawyer, that's going to happen because naturally you're there to look out for people that maybe, you know, were the victim of a crime in a war setting. And of course, we're not going to say that it's a good thing for British soldiers to go abroad and just torture people willy-nilly. Of course not. But it's the messaging this sends out, Annunziata, from a Prime Minister responsible for the selling off of the Chagos Islands, at least the attempt of the attempted sell-off of the Chagos Islands, the scrapping of jury trials, the war on free speech, the war on farmers, the war on pubs. It all feels very anti-British.
I think that's the real nub of what's wrong with this, is that surely our Prime Minister should first and foremost be looking out for the British people before he starts defending anyone else. And that's not what he's been doing, and that doesn't seem to be what he's doing now.
No, I mean, is there any conceivable justification for allowing Northern Ireland veterans to be prosecuted? Is there a case to be made?
Now, I think not. We've given immunity to IRA people, and our soldiers should be even more protected than the terrorists who tried to kill all of us. That we have bombs in this country and we have forgiven and forgotten about those crimes. Even if there were crimes, I think we should forgive and forget what our soldiers did. It's the past, but much more importantly, they were following orders, and the orders were set by our government. If anyone is to blame, it's the government. It's not the individual soldiers.
You've got veterans being prosecuted. You know, they're old people now, in their 60s, 70s and 80s. Some have considered taking their own lives. It's been years and years of hell for many who have since been cleared and some compensated, Annunziata. This isn't going to do much for military recruitment, is it?
I think our military are finding time and time again that there is no respect given to them by this government. This was done and dusted, and it's been reopened, and the pain has come back. The Labour government has decided to pursue this, and that is unforgivable. They were our soldiers protecting us. I was living under police guard as a child because of what the IRA were doing in this country. My father was on a death list. That I find it very, very hard to think it's okay to forgive all of those terrorists, but yet we're attacking our own soldiers who were protecting us.
Of course, it's not betraying a confidence to say that your father was the legendary journalist and former editor, I think, of the Times newspaper, William Rees-Mogg. Why was he a target of the IRA?
He was on a committee that Maggie, Tom King, various other people were on, and they decided that made him a target, despite the fact he was Catholic. It was nothing to do with religion. It was to do with the fact he was a Brit, and anyone who was British and looked out for our country was apparently a legitimate target according to the IRA. We have forgiven those people. They will not face prosecution. Lots of them have been given compensation for what happened. Why are our soldiers treated worse than actual terrorists?
Well, that's right, and it's worth remembering that the IRA targeted civilians in their decades of attacks on this country, including an effort in 1984 to murder the entirety of the British government at the Grand Hotel in Brighton. This was the enemy that our brave soldiers were facing.
Absolutely. And it's why we've got, Downing Street is closed off. That's not because of current terrorist threats. That's all started because London was such a hotspot for terrorist attacks by the IRA. We started living under a police state because the threat was so real. I can remember as a child living in London, bombs going off. You could hear them. That it was a very present, very real threat, and British people died on British soil. The pub bombings, it was a horrific time. But as I say, we have forgiven. We have written off any prosecutions. We have given compensation to the people who targeted us. And yet the brave soldiers who were willing to give their lives in return for protecting our country are now being pursued by a vindictive government.
Well, the messaging of this is truly appalling. And at 12 minutes past 9 on a Thursday morning, Annunziata, I've got some other news, and it's, I think, the 15th government U-turn so far by my calculations. So Keir Starmer has vetoed plans for a new attempt to reform the welfare system as Number 10 seeks to avoid another confrontation with Labour MPs. The Department for Work and Pensions has been told it will not be given time in Parliament to introduce any changes to the benefit system until next year at the earliest, which the Times newspaper claims means that actually any serious reforms to welfare are unlikely before the next election. So the Prime Minister bottles it and Britain continues to live beyond its means.
Absolutely. And it's just such a demonstration of quite how weak Keir Starmer is. We've had the whole Andy Burnham by-election debacle over the weekend. It's still ongoing. It seems that they're trying to throw knives at each other. But Keir Starmer is a leader, but he is not leading. He's got the title, but he has no power behind it. It's really quite surreal that it doesn't matter what he says, he can't get his backbenchers to follow where he wants them to go. And we've seen Angela Rayner is now, coming back. I don't know quite what that means.
She's not dead, apparently.
She's not dead. That's very good news. I'm delighted she is still with the living. But he has no control over his party. The backbenchers are running riot, and they're very left-wing. And the fact that it's bankrupting this country and that people who should not be on benefits are getting benefits, apparently doesn't matter.
It doesn't indeed. It's worrying times, isn't it? Annunziata, I look forward to our next on-air encounter. Always a fascinating conversation. Annunziata Rees-Mogg is a former Brexit Party MEP and the head of communications at Popular Conservatism.